First of all, I want to welcome you to and thank you for coming to make the presentation. So I'd like to do a couple of introductions here. Kate Preisler is from the Office of Community Development. She's sitting in on this one, replacing Alicia Zeller for a few minutes. She's going to be your timekeeper. There's a 5-minute warning, and then that's it. There was no 2-minute warning. I tried, but they wouldn't put it in there, so sorry about that. So I want to introduce Andy Fisk and Stephanie Moore from Connecticut River Conservancy and Holyoke Rose, and appreciate your proposal, appreciate your interest. You got 15 minutes. What we're basically asking you to do is talk about your programs. If you had a priority and we're only able to get one, what would that be? If there was a cut in that one, how much could be cut and still get you significant benefits? So basically that's what we're looking at, and who you impact and who you expect to impact with these proposals. So you have the floor.
Great. Thank you. We appreciate the opportunity to talk today, and we'll try and do it in less than 15. So again, I'm Andy Fisk with the Connecticut River Conservancy. We're applying, we have 2 applications that have been submitted, and that was at the request of the office. And so we'll speak to both of them, and the work crosses both of the programs. So 2 applications that we will speak about and together. So I think 3 words are helpful to frame what we're looking at: public health, public safety, and equity. And so those are the attributes that are driving what we are seeking to do. So I'm going to talk about the infrastructure, the stuff, as it will, and then Stephanie will talk about the programming. So the circumstances are, as a result of the pandemic, as we know, the outdoors became incredibly popular. And I think we're incredibly fortunate at Holyoke Rose that the use of the Jones Ferry River Access Facility increased significantly. And it increased significantly with both people that have familiarity with the river, and then also people that did not have familiarity with the river. And so Jones Ferry, as we know, it's the only place that residents of Holyoke that can access the river, where they can actually get in and recreate and experience the benefits of the river. So the type of use that increased was both the uses that Holyoke Rose supports, which is paddle sports and interacting with the river. And then there were members of the community that came down just to enjoy the facility. And then we did see a significant increase in motorized traffic. And so what we are seeking to do under that public safety category is to install infrastructure that will allow for the happy increase in mixed uses between motorized and non-motorized uses to happen safely, because the facility is nowhere near set up to provide for safe use of the river. Public health. We are also seeking to provide opportunities for people to recreate outside and glean the public health benefits of river recreation at the facility. And then equity, we are looking to provide access to many more people to enjoy the river regardless of their income. So let me talk about the equipment first. So what we would like to be able to do is remove much of the derelict infrastructure that remains from when the marina was there as the prior owner of the property. And so that means removing the old pilings, replacing the old stairs that go down to a derelict piling that is frankly unsafe, and replacing that system with stairs that would then access a new dock. The other part of the infrastructure, and I bring this up first because this is actually city infrastructure, right, is the ramp. The ramp is not accessible in low water conditions, which means people with their boats back down, and they are either going to damage their trailers or turn around and go somewhere else because the ramp is not long enough at low water conditions. And more importantly, the fire department has told us they can't get their boat into the river to respond to public safety at certain low river conditions. And so we are proposing to extend the ramp so that it is accessible year-round. And that would mean simply putting more material at the end of that ramp.
You would just go farther out into the river?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. And so both of those issues have been evaluated by engineers from SWCA consultants. And so we have walked the site with them. They've looked at this and given us the rough estimates and also evaluated the permitting requirements. So this is feasible and doable work. But again, we would like to be able to ensure that the city is comfortable that we as the CRC would be doing that work in coordination with the city. And again, we do this comparably in many other communities around the watershed. Haverhill, New Hampshire, Old Saybrook, Connecticut, and Longmeadow, Massachusetts. We contract to do work like this with cities on city-owned property. The other broad category of stuff, as it were, is material that Holyoke Rose would own and use. The first of which is to significantly overhaul the docking system, right? We need more docks, and we need more docks arranged differently in order to allow for more paddle sports to safely enter the water, and then also for a recreation dock. So we have 2 sample designs that would separate uses for both the human and paddle sports, and then also safely separate motorboats and jet skis that are coming in and using the river. The other part of what we would like to acquire is buoys. There is no wake set up there, right? And so people are not operating their boats safely. So no wake and channel buoys could be deployed in order to have boats safely enter and exit the facility and not risk interacting with the many paddle sports and other anglers and recreational users. We are also seeking support for signage, right? So when you come to the facility, 1, you don't really know that it's Holyoke Rose or Jones Ferry, and 2, you don't have information about how you use the facility and frankly how you share it and operate safely with the others. And so there's a fair amount of bilingual signage that would need to be designed and presented. I think that's the major overview, and we can toggle back and forth on this, and I'll turn it over to Stephanie for the
Could I just ask you one question on that?
Sure.
Just as, having been down there recently. So going down the roadway, I guess, for lack of a better word, to get to the dock,
Yep.
Is that being altered at all?
When you say the roadway, you mean the ramp?
The roadway, ramp, well, it looks to me like a roadway.
The paved ramp.
Yeah, the paved
Ramp.
down to the dock. Is that being,
Only the toe of that ramp. So when
Okay.
the asphalt changes to that open-celled concrete blocks, that's what will actually be extended.
okay, so just one other question on that. So, and maybe I'm totally wrong here, but is that where vehicles go down and they drive down there to bring their cars to the dock?
They do. So they'll back their trailers down,
Yeah?
and then the trailer will actually go into the water, and then the boat will drift off, and they drive back up,
Yeah.
park up top, and their boat then is tied to the dock while they're coming back down to get the boat.
Okay, and I'm certainly not an engineer or anything like that, but my only thought, and knowing we're trying to get more people and not coming with vehicles to bring their things down there, but maybe taking their kayaks or canoes or things down there, and I'm assuming carrying them down. I know the dragon people carry their dragon boat down. I have a little safety concern there that if we got people driving on the one hand and other people trying to get down there walking,
So
Or vice
we need to
versa.
separate it. The only people who should be driving down there are if you have a motorboat trailer. If you have kayaks, you'll be parking at the top and walking them down, unless you have a handicap placard or something. So it would really, so we don't want a lot of car traffic down there, but motorboaters have to drive their motorboat down.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
That makes sense?
yeah, no, I understand, but that my concern is it's relatively narrow, and that people, and I'm assuming they're backing down. Am I wrong?
Yeah, there's space for
Okay.
for at least 2 trailers to back down.
Okay.
When you were there,
Okay.
it was high water.
Yeah.
It was relatively
Yeah,
high
it
water.
was high water.
So at low water, it is wide open down there.
Okay.
You can probably launch 3 the concrete ramp is the blocks that we're talking about extending. There's probably room for 3 trailers to launch off of those at once.
Okay. All
So
right.
it's wider than it seems during low water.
Yeah, like I said,
And I
I'm
think
not an
that's a-
engineer, but it was, as I went there, I thought, I
Yeah.
want to make sure we have the
It is tight,
pedestrian
high water.
versus the vehicle and make sure that everybody's,
And that's where I think that the signage will help, but that's a great segue to the programming and some of the people. And I think it's a good example of the program staff that we're looking for, the facility staff.
Right. So we have a lot more people. The way we've operated in previous years before COVID is we have a family membership. You get a key to the boathouse. You take out boats with your family. You lock up the building behind you. You know the rules. It all works really well. And we've had 30 to 40 family members. Whereas this past year with COVID, we had 110 to 120 family memberships. So dramatically increasing who's using, how many people are using our boats, and the type of person. So fortunately, it was a lot of people who've never used the river before, people who we want to access were coming down. But a couple things, they put a stress on the facility. Like there's not as, with that many people, you just we feel like we need staff there to monitor who's taking what, how they're putting it away, how they're taking care of it, what they're choosing to take out so it's safe for them, and then giving instruction. So they know how to get in and out of a boat, they know how to recognize water conditions, wind conditions, is it safe for me today? So that sort of stuff. And then to help negotiate all that, the other users, so if there's jet skiers, we can remind jet skiers that person could remind jet skiers of the rules as we're launching kayakers, but we just need some presence there to start recreating or creating a new pattern of existence and coexistence between the many users, because people don't always read signs, and it's just going to take a little encouragement to get safe use and more use. So we're looking for a facilities manager to be there weekends and busy weeknights in the summer, to just sort of facilitate that use and to make sure everyone's safe and feels comfortable. I think a lot of the new users that we want to come down aren't going to feel comfortable coming on their own. They're going to want to know someone's got their back, and if I got a problem, I can ask. So that's what we're looking to greatly expand the type of resident who comes down and uses the facility. So really, and then we can market that and encourage new users. The other piece that we've been requested by many people and by City Council is to increase our youth programming in the summer. Thanks. And so to that end, we'd like to double the number of offers we have. So we do a morning camp. We'd like 2 sessions of morning and 2 sessions of afternoon. And then that gap in between, we offer programs at Boys and Girls Club and other groups. But that's going to require more oversight, more staff, more than just the director can manage, as I manage everything else. That needs its own person, because a lot of it is interacting with parents, making sure we've got the right kids in the right group, that everyone's safe, overseeing the staff, and then training staff. I think a big component of what we do with our summer camps is we hire youth from town, from city youth, to be junior counselors, and we need to implement a really rigorous training protocol for them. We've just sort of pulled people and done really well with what we have, but I think if we increase the numbers, we need to have a much more structured program so that we're safer, our kids are safer, and that the camp counselors end up being much more qualified and have many more job skills when they leave us. So that's the second piece, is a summer youth program staff coordinator to implement that. And then finally, to that end, we still need more youth. We still want more youth opportunities. So we have a middle school, a high school program that we've always had to greatly expand that middle school program. We have a lot of kids who after camp say, what else can I do? So we're requesting staff to support that. We normally do it with me and one other person to do the outreach, to increase the numbers. Kids need a lot of support. Not only for safety, but that middle school age group needs a lot of Band-Aids, a lot of encouragement, a lot of phone calls home. Parents have questions, that we just really want to be a very nurturing, encompassing program, and for that we need staff. So that is our third request, is sort of the after-school program.
Priorities would be the docks and programming would be our priority, and we were looking at that, and we would probably shave back docks and maintain as much of the programming. So we feel like there's some flexibility there, but we would not do the ramp, not do the stairs, not do the pilings, but docks and programming we think would be the best way to go if we have to reduce back.
So let me just make sure I understand. So you could do docks and what was the other one?
Programming.
And programming.
So the people and then the docks.
Okay, so we would make improvements to make it safer, but
Correct.
we're talking, there are parts that we might be able to defer in terms of the dock. In order to get the programming if need be.
Right.
Defer getting rid of the old pilings and
Yeah.
the marina infrastructure, defer doing the ramp extension, defer doing some of the channel marking.
Okay.
Not ideal, but
Yeah.
you are asking.
Yeah, no, and that's the kind of thing we need to know, because obviously we're trying to get as much benefit, both short-term and as close to immediate, but also long-term. So we're trying to balance both of those things as we go. So if you got the funding to do the entire ramp project, when do you think that project could be completed?
Whenever the water drops.
Yeah, the ramp, based on permitting, it looks like it can be done under maintenance. It does not need a new permit, and it's not that big a project, and that could be done this fall, depending on when you issue. So September, October. That's based on the engineer's estimate from when we were walking the site.
And that's the best time in terms of water level
Yep.
to get that done.
And that would be the complete project could be done at the end, say by November?
No.
No.
Just the ramp extension,
Okay,
just the debris removal. The docks, the new docks would then be deployed in the spring.
Okay.
And the programming would start next spring. So
Okay.
we have draft designs for the docks. We know the costs. You'd have to order. We do need to do permitting. And we've
Yep.
talked to the Conservation Commission and DEP. We know about the permitting.
okay, so all the parts that don't need permitting would be completed in the fall. The parts that need permitting would be completed, I assume, in early spring, but you would have
Right.
to
We're
worry
not
about
putting
the water levels.
Yeah, we wouldn't put the docks in until spring anyway, so there's no point in putting, even if we got to put docks in November, so
Okay.
it would be spring.
And again, I want to thank you, as you saw the wrap-up sign there. I just want to thank you for both submitting a proposal, considering the comments that we've asked to try to get more people involved, especially from the youth that don't have the financial means to be able to do it, but also that in many cases live closest to the river.
Right.
Exactly.
But don't have the appreciation of the river, and I do appreciate that. So we appreciate it. We are behind in terms of schedule. I was hoping that, we were going to be in a situation last night where City Council would have been able to take a vote, but they were not able to do that. So I'm not exactly sure now when that's going to do it. I am trying to keep them fully involved in the process and take their input in terms of what they're recommending. So, but we appreciate the interest. We appreciate your proposal, and we will try to make decisions as quickly as possible, and certainly let you know as soon as we know.
Thanks.
And I do appreciate it.
It's a great
Good luck.
process, transparent, involving lots of the public. So
Thank you.
It's hard work.
Thank you.
Kate.